You feel it before you even post. That tiny jolt in your chest. When the photo looks almost right, but not quite. The pause with your thumb hovering over share. Your stomach tightens. You zoom in on your own face. Delete, re-edit, add a caption, remove it. Suddenly, a normal moment, a coffee, a beach, your kid laughing in the back seat, doesn't feel like a memory anymore. Instead, it just feels like a test. And the worst part is, you know exactly who is grading it. Old classmates, distant relatives, people you haven't spoken to in years, strangers who can scroll past your life in half a second. That is why the person who never posts can make other people weirdly uneasy, while everyone else is arranging life into something watchable. They're just living it. No announcement. No proof. Once that question gets under your skin, everything changes. Dinner gets cold while you retake the picture. A sunset becomes content. A vacation turns into a silent negotiation between enjoying it and documenting it. Even after you post, your body doesn't relax. So when someone never posts, it doesn't always mean they have nothing going on. Sometimes, it means they refuse to hand their nervous system over to an audience. They stepped out of that loop entirely. It doesn't feel like fun when you are standing in your kitchen at 4:37 p.m., cold coffee on the counter, retaking the same photo. Because the first one looked too messy, the second one looked too try-hard, and the third one, somehow, made your own life feel fake. That is the part nobody says out loud. The stress is not in posting. It starts before posting, in the stomach. And once that pressure mixes with comparison, the whole thing turns toxic fast, not abstractly, but physically. You scroll through somebody's engagement, somebody's abs, somebody's clean apartment, somebody's promotion, while you're still in yesterday's sweatshirt, answering emails you hate. Now your actual Tuesday starts feeling like evidence against you. That is why so many people become silent watchers. They open the app, they look, they even type a caption, then delete it, not once, but repeatedly. Their thumb hovers over share, like it is a red button. You've probably noticed this. In real life, the person who barely posts isn't usually the sad one in the corner. They're often the calmest person at the table. They're eating while the food is still hot. Because even when you tell yourself, you know it is curated and fake, your nervous system still reacts as if it is real evidence. A promotion announcement, a hand with a ring, keys to a new house, vacation, sunsets framed just right. Your conscious mind can roll its eyes. But somewhere underneath, your brain still runs the old calculation. They're ahead, and I'm behind. And if you've ever scrolled for 10 minutes and felt strangely smaller, flatter, harder on yourself, that isn't weakness either. It is what repeated exposure does. It turns other people's highlight reels into silent accusations, not because anyone said anything to you directly, but because the image lands first, and your body answers before your logic can correct it. A slight drop in your stomach. So, some people stop playing altogether, not because they have nothing going on, but because they're tired of entering a contest where everyone else controls the lighting, the timing, and the edit. And maybe that is why long-form platforms feel different to you. You can spend hours on YouTube and feel fine. Then, 5 minutes on Instagram feels like you've been graded by strangers. One platform just asks you to watch. If you felt that split, wanting content without the pressure of being content, you're not detached, and you're not alone. A lot of people aren't avoiding connection. They're avoiding surveillance, disguised as socializing. The mechanism is easy to miss because it doesn't look violent. No one is standing over you with a weapon. The pressure is softer than that, which is exactly why it works. That is the part people often get backward. They assume the quiet person is detached, shy, or emotionally shut down. Usually, it is the opposite. They've just stopped confusing visibility with intimacy. They know that a heart icon, a fire emoji, and a proud comment are not the same thing as a friend who notices your voice sounds off at 11 p.m. and asks what happened. Research has been pointing in that direction for years. Happiness tracks more reliably with the quality of close relationships than with the sheer number of social ties. In plain English, 10 honest conversations do more for a human nervous system than 1,000 tiny digital signals. And notice who is adapting to whom. The system rewards display, frequency, and emotional packaging. To stay visible, you learn to edit yourself into something legible. The right photo, the right angle, the right caption, the right amount of vulnerability. That is the pressure, and then comes the compromise. People who rarely post often step out of that loop, not because they don't care, but because they care enough to protect the unperformed parts of life. They still watch closely. They notice when someone suddenly posts less, when a cheerful caption feels rehearsed, when a perfect carousel has grief hiding in the edges. They're not absent. Psychology makes a useful distinction here: public versus private self-consciousness. One is preoccupied with how you appear. The other is concerned with what you actually think, feel, and value. The non-poster often leans toward the second. So, if you've ever felt more studied on one app and more like yourself off it, you've already felt the difference. Here is the defense protocol, and it starts earlier than most people think. Not when you post, but when you feel the urge to turn a private moment into public material. That is the checkpoint. The second your mind starts framing the dinner table, the hotel view, the promotion, even your own grief as something to be packaged, pause and do nothing for 60 seconds. Let your nervous system catch up before the platform does. Then, build a hard border between experience and display. Not everything meaningful deserves witnesses. Some things need to remain uncirculated, so your brain can encode them as lived reality instead of social currency. Eat the meal while it is hot. Watch the sunset before you reach for the lens. Finish the conversation before you draft the caption in your head. This is not moral purity. Next, stop outsourcing self-appraisal. If you did something good, let the proof exist in your body first. The unclenched chest, the steady breath, the quiet satisfaction after the work is done. Don't rush to convert it into reactions, hearts, or comments. The longer you can hold a win without announcing it, the less dependent you become on rented validation. If you do use social media, use it like a tool, not a mirror. Decide before opening the app why you are there and how long you stay. Message the person directly. Share with intention, not reflex. Leave before the platform starts telling you who you are, because the strongest boundary is not disappearing from the world. Maybe the people who post the least are not behind at all. Maybe they escaped a game. Most people still confuse with connection. Choosing not to turn every dinner, trip, or private win into content is not withdrawal. It is a refusal to rent out your inner life for attention. Privacy is not emptiness. And when that clicks, something changes. Your coffee stays hot because no one stopped to photograph it. The joke lasts longer because nobody reached for a phone. So, this is the real promise. You don't have to become more visible to become more real. You don't owe the crowd evidence that you are happy, healing, attractive, or that you are busy, or loved. You get to choose what remains unwitnessed. You get to keep parts of yourself, unmarketed, uncaptioned, and fully yours. No deathbed regret has ever sounded like, "I wish I posted more." It sounds like, "I wish I had been there while it was happening." If this landed somewhere honest in you, tell me, what became better in your life when you stopped trying to show it?